Hey, Bastish B here for 64K and welcome to another episode of New Retro. And if you've never watched this show before, I take a look at a new retro game on an old system, and then we also have a look at the inspiration game, the game that might have inspired it. And today's games are Okay, so let's first take a look at the inspiration game, the game that might have inspired our new one. The Sacred Armour of Antiriad was released in 1986 on the Commodore 64 by Palace Software, best known for the Cauldron and Barbarian games. The game was a mixture of a few different styles, platform, puzzle, action, and adventure all rolled into one. You played a character Tal, who has to find and use the legendary anti-radiation suit, which was built before the Earth was nuked, but now you need it to stop a full-on alien invasion on Earth. The original version of the game came packed with a wonderful comic book, giving the full story in extreme detail, and was done by artist and writer of the game Dan Malone. The game starts off with you in caveman mode with only a rock to throw as defense, and the bottom of the screen is the inventory bar, which is totally blacked out. Once you find the suit and power it up, the bar comes to life and is fully active, which is an extremely cool touch that I've never seen in any other game. The game itself is a flip screen affair where you have to explore and find all the upgrades for the suit, such as a jetpack and laser weapons, etc, etc. You can also jump in and out of the suit, and it can never be destroyed, but if it takes too many hits it'll run out of power and you'll have to exit it and go find a recharger before you can use it again. The game is fairly big when you initially start it, with over 100 rooms or screens to explore, but once you start figuring out where everything is, the game can be completed fairly quickly. That doesn't mean it's not a challenge. It's pretty difficult, especially initially, but it eases up once you get a few upgrades. The game's lead programmer Stan Schembri worked on a string of impressive Commodore 64 games like Barbarian, Vendetta, and The Last Ninja 3, with resident Palace Software composer Richard Joseph giving us a beautiful film-like score that nails the exploration and adventure vibe of this game to a T. It sports a wonderful, unique graphic style and on-point controls and an excellent map to explore, giving it an extremely addictive quality that makes you want to see everything. The game also goes under the name Rad Warrior in the US, rad meaning radiation and not the dude variety, and was published by Epix. This game also came out at the exact same time as Nintendo's Metroid and shares a lot in common with it. Or is it the other way around? Could the genre have been called Antiriadvania? Just don't tell those Nintendo fanboys that. They'll literally lose their mind. We'll just keep it between us C64 users. And now let's check out the brand new release. Soulless 2, The Armour of Gods was released in August 2021 on the Commodore 64 by Cytronic Software. It is a sequel to Soulless, originally released in 2012, and that game also recently received a special edition version, which is totally worth checking out. Soulless 2 picks up story-wise as you, King Ryzak, sets out to find the legendary Armour of the Gods, which gives you the ability to fly and use the weapon of the sun. He sets out to find it before it falls into the hands of the demented wizard Kalen. I was lucky enough to interview Trevor Story from Icon 64, who did the art and game concept for Soulless 2. My first question was pretty broad, with the original Soulless coming out almost a decade ago now. How much does he think the C64 retro scene has changed in that time? And Trevor said, there are definitely more development teams and a lot more publishers of 8-bit C64 stuff now. We also have a few dedicated C64 retro magazines with Fusion, Free 64, Zap 64, Italian Zap, Reset 64, just to name a few. Also, with the release of the C64 and the C64 Mini, a lot more people have returned to the C64, so the scene has grown quite a lot, which is great for us all. The game, like Sacred Armour of Antiriad, the inspiration for this game is a combination of exploration, puzzle solving, and a whole lot of action, and combines them excellently for its 4 massive levels. You start off with nothing and have to find a gun for defense, and once you gain the armor, you need to upgrade the suit with guns, and you also now gain the ability to fly and jump in and out of the suit to solve various puzzles and destroy enemies. My second question for Trevor was if he was a fan of the original Antiriad back in the day, and he said, Antiriad was a firm favorite for me and my mates when it came out. The artwork by Dan Malone was killer, and the awesome title music by Richard Joseph brings back great memories. It was fantastic, if short release. Each of the levels you go through has their own look and style, and also focus on a different part of the gameplay element. Level 1 is all about solving solving puzzles. Level 2 is exploration and discovery of the suit. Level 3 is all about big enemies to fight, etc, etc. It's done really well, and even though you're doing a bit of everything in all the levels, they still have their own identity. Gameplay is a great mix. Simple puzzle solving like matching colors, with statues to open paths to get keys. Action is really fun and fast, whether it's with your gun or with the suit weapon. It's very satisfying, blowing away everything, and the exploration element is great. The game does come with a map if you're easily lost, but I found I didn't really need it as the levels tended to be pretty logically set out. I also asked Trevor, with the size of the game being pretty large, I asked him how long the team had been working on this game for, and he said Jorg originally wanted to do a Metroidvania style game, so I designed Hyperium, which was pretty large. Sadly, this turned into a real slog and slowly we lost interest in the project, but I really wanted to do something along the lines, so I simplified the design and brought it back to flip screen. Then it turned into Soulless 2, and the idea to include the armor came about. We started in 2015 and finished in 2021 with a lot of gaps in development while we did other stuff. We still managed to cram a lot into the game, and it only just fit on one side of a disc. There are also plenty of secret rooms to discover that have enemies to kill who drop crowns. These crowns give you extra lives and are well worth seeking out. The C64 team really delivered on this one yet again, with Jorg Rottensteiner on programming, Trevor on art and concept, and Soulcross on music and sound effects. My final question I asked Trevor was how difficult was it setting up the level design, as you had to get the combination of flying and walking right since most levels incorporate them. And he said, I really wanted each level to feel a bit different from the last. So the first level was designed as an on-foot level where you gain access to a weapon. The second level would be where you find the armor and can fly around and land. Third would have an interactive background pieces, which acted as enemies, and the fourth would have lots of mini-bosses to fight. Final boss was made a separate load, so it'd make it a more interesting battle, with a nice bitmap background. The room design changed as we tested, so you could mostly get around on foot. The only thing we had to really think about was the amount of sprites on screen, as you could exit your armor suit, so we had to come up with the ways to get around the sprite limit. We also added a few rooms in the second, third, and fourth levels that would randomize on each play. We had to lose the idea of saving any time, as too much info needed to be saved, so we went with a save on level completion instead. There's a lot of game to like here. The 4 levels are big and should offer plenty of challenge to keep you going for quite a while. The graphics are a great combination of high-res background and some superbly animated C64 sprite work, and the look of each level is very different from the last. My only slight niggle is the music seems a little bit too sedate for this kind of adventure. Souls tracks are good, but not very memorable, and there's not a single tune that I was humming after I turned off my C64. Still, they are pretty atmospheric, and I really did like the sound effects, which complemented the action really well. This game is another gem in the C64's crown, and the game is both NTSC and PAL compatible, and works on everything from real hardware, VICE, and the C64 Mini and Maxi. It's not only an excellent homage to that Palace software classic, but takes all its shortcomings and makes a truly grand, fun adventure game that any C64 owner should be happy with. And I'm sure you're probably wondering, where can I get these games? The Sacred Armour of Antiriad, the original version, can be found on eBay, and I picked it up from the Retro Cavern, which is a UK online store worth checking out. It was relatively cheap. I bought the re-release. It was about $5 to $6, and you can also download a digital version from csdb.dk. As for Soulless 2, it's available from Cytronic Software, available in physical form on disc and USB as of making this video, and you can also download a digital version from Itch. I'll leave links to everything in the video description. And that's it for today's episode. I just want to thank Trevor Story for answering the questions and giving us a little bit of an insight into the making of the game. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me, Bastish B at 64K. I hope you had a good time. And if you can like and subscribe, that'll be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time. Cheers.